This is the Clicks keyboard for iPhone, the brainchild of Mr. Mobile, aka Michael Fisher, and Crackberry Kevin. I'm going to show you what it is, tell you how it works, and explain the reasons why you might want one. But while this product oozes coolness and definitely brings back some fond memories of days past where everyone was rocking a BlackBerry, it isn't perfect. Not in this particular iteration, at least. Let's jump into it. So it seems pretty self-explanatory, but the Clicks is a phone case for your iPhone. Currently, only iPhone 14s and 15s are supported, but more devices, including Android phones, are claimed to be in the works. So if you feel left out at the moment, don't worry too much. You might be able to try one of these out for yourself in the near future. The concept is pretty simple. It works by plugging into your iPhone's Lightning or USB-C port at the bottom of the device. And once connected, your phone provides power to the keyboard, which is also backlit, and enables hardware keyboard functionality on your iPhone. Aesthetically, I think they've nailed the look of the Clicks. Mine is in the London Sky color option, which is definitely one of their less in-your-face colors. The London Sky is sort of an off-blue, light gray mix with black keys, but you can also get any yellow, pink, or blue. The pink color option, which is aptly named Miami Beach, is about as standout as you can get. It's got bright blue keys set against the pink body. It's a bit of a trip. The outer portion of the Clicks is a soft-to-the-touch material that almost feels like rubber. And each case features a black textured portion running the full length of the body behind the keyboard section that improves grip and helps keep it sturdy in hand. My Clicks also has a special touch to it, as I was one of the backers who helped to crowdfund the initial production round of the Clicks keyboard. Mine says Founders Edition on it. My case number, in case you care, is 2763. Now, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the keyboard itself is backlit, and by using the Clicks companion app on your device, you can also tune the backlight brightness to a variety of different levels and also change the timeout length. I find it to be plenty bright, regardless of where you set the brightness to in the companion app. This makes using the Clicks in both bright and dim environments very easy, and I haven't found myself losing track of where my hand is on the device at any point so far. Now, before I explain what having a hardware keyboard, physical keyboard on your phone can do for the iOS user experience, I just want to take a moment so we can just relish in how good this keyboard sounds. I'm in my mid-30s now, which is a little scary to say, but it also means that I wasn't exactly a smartphone user growing up. They weren't really a thing. However, in 2010, when I entered the corporate world and got my first company-issued phone, it was a BlackBerry Bold 9900, and I loved that thing. The texting speed was awesome. Now the Clicks, it's truly an homage to the keyboards of days past that you used to find on devices like the BlackBerry. The feel of the keys, the travel, the click and sound they make is super reminiscent of the ones on my old Bold 9900. But aside from being nostalgic, what does the Clicks actually do? Well, for a Gen 1 product, it can do quite a bit, actually. First, plugging the Clicks into your phone is basically the equivalent of pairing a Bluetooth keyboard to your iPhone. Once you get used to using it, I can almost guarantee your typing speed will improve, and in some cases, pretty significantly, especially if you're also, like me, a former BlackBerry user. The key layout and feeling get more and more familiar the more you use it and the more time you have the Clicks in your hand. The best part of a physical keyboard, though, is shortcuts. Just like with any laptop, any other tablet with a keyboard paired to it, shortcuts enable you to do things faster and more efficiently. And iOS has almost all the same shortcuts programmed into it as iPadOS and macOS. But because the iPhone uses a virtual keyboard most of the time, you might not know that. However, if you're an iPad user like myself and you've got a physical keyboard for it, then you probably know a little bit about what I'm talking about and have probably used some shortcuts like this already. With the Clicks installed, you can press Command and H to jump back to your home screen at any point, without having to move your hand up and swipe the screen in any way. Once you're at the home screen, you can press Command and the spacebar to open up Spotlight. And then you can just start typing your search straight away. Again, no need to move your hand up into an input and tap before typing. You can just go straight to work. There's also a ton of other shortcuts available to use with the Clicks. And as you get more familiar with them, you'll continue to find them more useful, powerful, and you begin working more effectively and efficiently through iOS. And now while the keyboard on the Clicks is fairly small in size, it does do a pretty good job of packing in just about all the keys and function keys specifically that you could need. There's a dedicated key to open up the on-screen keyboard, a button dedicated to opening the emoji or alternate language keyboard. There's also a voice input button. It covers pretty much all the bases. There's no function key row per se, but you can easily toggle between numbers, symbols, and characters using the Alt buttons on the left-hand side of the keyboard. Now, while this all sounds great, and don't get me wrong, for a first-gen product, it is pretty great, it's not perfect. And depending on how you use your phone day to day, the problems with the first generation of the Clicks keyboard might just be a bit too much to make it worth the while for you. First, the Clicks doesn't necessarily function like a standalone device would. It relies on the iPhone for power, for instance, using the Lightning or USB-C port to get that power. Now, you can still charge your phone. The port on the Clicks case is a pass-through for power, but it means you won't get the same function out of that port at the bottom of your phone as you normally would. And depending on how you use your device, this is going to rear its head in a bunch of different ways, but just to name a couple, you can't connect wired AirPods through the port at the bottom of the Clicks. If you've got an iPhone 15 Pro and you want to record log footage to an external hard drive, you won't be able to do that with the Clicks case installed. And even worse, if you're like me and you're a commuter who uses CarPlay almost exclusively for in-car infotainment and media, you can't use CarPlay through the port on the Clicks either. Sure, more cars are supporting wireless CarPlay, and wired AirPods are pretty much a dying breed, but the fact that the only port on your iPhone is completely reduced to just a power pass-through and nothing else is a pretty big deal. Now, this next one's not exactly an issue with Clicks itself, but there are several spots within iOS where the hardware keyboard seems to confuse the operating system. For example, using keyboard shortcuts to jump in and out of native iOS apps and native iOS elements, like going to the home screen or triggering Spotlight, they work fine. The cursor or text input automatically moves up to where you need to be so you can just start typing right away. It's pretty seamless. However, say you want to enter a caption on Instagram or you're using a handful of any other text-based third-party applications. Nothing happens. It seems a little bit like third-party apps or non-native apps are just not expecting there to be anything but a virtual keyboard, and it doesn't present you the option to do any entry without taking another step in interacting. But going back to the native experience of iOS, there's some shortcuts that they just didn't bring over from iPadOS or macOS at all for some strange reason. Perfect example of this. Although the Clicks has a tab and command button, you can't toggle the app switcher by pressing Command Tab like you can on iPadOS or macOS. So you have to go up again and swipe to trigger the app switcher. It's a bit of an odd omission considering how similar especially iPadOS and iOS are, but it's something that you're probably going to run into with a bunch of other shortcuts the more you use this device. Okay, software out of the way, I do have to go back to the design again, because although aesthetically, I think it looks really nice. It's quite beautiful, and when you look at it up close, the detail is great, but functionally, it's got some flaws. To start with, the Clicks is quite lightweight. So once you've plugged the Clicks into your iPhone, it immediately becomes top heavy. The phone adds a huge imbalance of weight to the setup. Now, Clicks states in its Getting Started guide that you should hold the phone in your hand a certain way to compensate for this. But I feel like they also could have added a counterweight to the bottom of the Clicks itself, to the keyboard section, and that would have helped to mitigate this from being an issue to begin with. Now, I also happen to have an iPhone 15 Pro Max, so perhaps for me, because I've got the larger phone, it's just a bit more noticeable, but also note that the material on the iPhone 15 Pro Max itself is lighter to start with. And since I'm now talking about phone sizes, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. And that is what the Clicks does to your phone once it is connected. To put it plainly, this case makes your phone massive. With the Clicks on my iPhone 15 Pro Max, I honestly cannot fit it into my pockets. I can sort of squeeze it into the pockets of a pair of jeans from Montenbeau, but they're known for being stretchier to start with. But the keyboard portion is basically hanging out of the ends, regardless of the pair of pants I'm trying to put them into. And if you typically put your phone in a bag or purse, it might not be an issue for you, but if you're like me and you typically throw your phone in your pocket, you're in for a rough go. And finally, on the topic of design, while the Clicks offers a lot of functionality and generally is aesthetically very pleasing, This first generation doesn't give me much confidence as far as build quality and phone safety are concerned. The topmost portion of the clicks, the part that actually secures your phone on the outside, it's made from a rubber-like material. This means it's pretty soft and it's pliable. It is very easy to move around in your hands. Not exactly what you want a phone case to feel like. But I can also understand why they've done this, because it makes it easier to put your phone into the case to start with. So it's a bit of a pros and cons situation. But long term, this kind of material, like any other cheaper material, is probably going to wear down. It might crack, it might split, or it might just stop holding the device as securely as it should, and that means it's now a fall risk. Furthermore, the port that plugs into your iPhone itself, that USB-C or Lightning connector, it's a bit flimsy. On more than one occasion, I've failed to get the port to click in far enough to actually enable the Clicks keyboard, and other times it's kind of looked or felt like I'm about to bend the port while putting the phone into the case. Again, Clicks has some disclaimers on their website and their Getting Started guide about how to go about not doing this, but I just feel like it should be more rigid to start with. Okay, it's time for the $1 million question then. Would I recommend the Clicks keyboard? While the build quality concerns I have are pretty easy to solve in future iterations through design changes and hardware material changes, the other functional issues, like the inability to use CarPlay or other wired devices like external hard drives, are more complicated ones, and they might not be as easy for Clicks themselves to solve. Plugging directly into the phone as opposed to using Bluetooth to connect means there's less or potentially no latency while using the Clicks. It also means you can do power pass-through and some other nice things, but there are trade-offs that come with this design decision, as I've explained. If you're not a CarPlay user, typically keep your phone in a bag versus your pocket, or you're on the fully wireless headphone train, I don't really have much of an issue recommending the Clicks to you. It's definitely going to improve your typing speed and open up a bunch of shortcuts that are going to make it faster to get to certain parts of your phone and use iOS. But if you need CarPlay or you record log to an external hard drive using your iPhone 15 Pro, or you pocket your phone on the daily, it's a bit more tricky to live with the Clicks on a 24/7 basis. Personally, I really enjoy using the Clicks, but I've had to make some compromises in how I use it. I'm in an interesting situation where I now leave the house every day with my plain old iPhone case and the Clicks in my pocket. When I'm at home or I'm at work, the Clicks is on my phone and I can power through messages and emails using it through the workday. But when I'm on the go, I switch back to my regular old iPhone case and then the Clicks get stowed. Again, I think in time, the Clicks team is going to be able to find ways to overcome most, maybe all, of the things that I've talked about. Since starting to use the Clicks, I've gotten a ton of people asking me about it, and a bunch of my coworkers and friends have borrowed my phone and done some typing with it. And a lot of people, just like me, love using it. And I think because of that, the Clicks team is truly onto something. So if you really want that nostalgic hit, or you desperately miss having a hardware keyboard on your phone, go right ahead. You can order the Clicks today in a bunch of different colors for iPhone 14 and 15. I'll link everything below so you can go and check it out and order one if you want. My recommendation right now, though, is probably wait for the next generation or two, because I think there's a lot more from the Clicks team to come, and I think this device is going to get better and better with time. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on the Clicks, and let's have a conversation about it, as always, guys, down in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you again soon in the next one.